everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Road to Green, where we break down issues on climate and sustainability and ESG from our perspective, as well as the experts that we bring on board. My name is Rebecca, and I am joined by
Apathia.
Caroline.
So today's topic is actually on the circular economy. For generations, our society has relied on a linear model where we extract raw materials, we make use of them, and then we discard them. But then, in our current dispensation, that doesn't work anymore. Today, our guest is going to take us through what the circular economy is about and what that means to her and her journey in this space so far. So, Nabeela, you're welcome.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Yes, please feel free to introduce yourself and anything you'd like to tell us.
All right. So my name is Nabeela Abubakari. I'm the founder and director of the Go-To initiative, started in 2023. And at the moment, we operate as a systems studio, building infrastructure for Africa's circular economy. And we fund and field test that infrastructure by running programs for the institutions that actually do the real economic activities.
I see. Yeah, that sounds like a very interesting journey.
No, not quite. It's been brutal than interesting.
That's a conversation we definitely have to have. Yeah. So when we talk about the circular economy, there's also conversations around incentives. From your perspective, who do you think that the incentive conversation actually benefits in the long run? Yeah.
I think it benefits no one. I see the utility of it in the beginning, but in the long run, I think it benefits no one. You want your interventions, this includes the circular economy, to be need-based. So people should need them and gravitate to them. And whatever circular economy intervention you're building should meet a need.
Okay.
Once you start pushing incentives, it means there's no need. So are you manufacturing relevance and impact? That becomes the question you're asking. So I think when it comes to incentives, it helps no one. In 2024, when we did our Eco-Macola project in Macola, which was like a behavior modeling project, I remember it was around single-use plastics. We wanted to study the market and then take feedback, design alternatives to single-use plastics that would just fit in their lifestyle. So we took the feedback. After 3 iterations, we came up with a bag, an upcycled tote bag. We priced it for 15 cedis. This is later, but during the project, we handed 1,000 bags to the market, the consumers. And we handed that against an 80% benchmark. So if our recipients came to the market 10 times, 8 times out of that 10 times, they should return with the bag. It was malleable, which means it could fit in your back pocket. But we made it with upcycled tote bags. Upcycled fishing nets, as well as the flower bags, Isamboto. So the goal was to have it to be able to condense, but then to be able to carry bulk shopping as people do in Macola. Once we took it back to them, they said, yeah, everybody took it. Who doesn't want a free thing? Unfortunately, our grant cycle did not allow us the time to monitor the project. However, in the lack of that, I said to the team, I don't trust what we've done. To check the efficacy, let's put it in the stores for them to buy. Now, when we took it, they had so many things to say. Oh, the fishing net is too, it makes their shopping feel naked. 15 cedis, that's too much. The Chinese are selling some reusable bags for 1 cedis, for 2 cedis, and such. So on that level, I mean, we chalked it as we failed there. But I think when you're working in the circular economy, you're really never failing unless you stop. You are taking the feedback, and if you iterate, then you never failed.
What do you guys? Because I was running through your mind.
I think what struck me was the fact that you mentioned that because of the grant cycle, like you weren't able to monitor, which I think is a bit like disturbance, like the grant is the one that is
Holding the business.
you.
Yeah.
So what if maybe things were different concerning the grant cycle? Do you think
Absolutely
there
would be
been
there.
some-
Would still be there.
Yeah.
If the grant cycle was extended, it gives us extended time to study the market, build for them, iterate. The reason why I call Go to a system studio is it's a young organization, and we really ride on R&D.
Okay.
So experimenting and failing.
Research and development. Just
Yeah.
for those who don't.
Yeah, so it's not something that's really accommodated in Ghana. And I maybe somebody will not like me, or a couple of funders will not like me for saying this, but even in the UK and Europe, the commercial case for the circular economy is still very much underdeveloped. It's part of why nobody takes it seriously. When I say nobody, I'm talking the big capital allocators, I'm talking policymakers. So if the real heavy hitters cannot even find the commercial case for it, and they still cannot defend certain circular economy principles, who are we in Africa to begin to pretend as if we figured it out? At GoTo, we refuse to do that. And again, it comes back to why we run GoTo through the funding and field test with the real institutions that are driving economic activity, because that accommodates our R&D-ness. Grant cycles do not accommodate our R&D-ness, and it took us, I say, almost 3 years, almost a lifetime of GoTo to find this out.
Okay. So, will you say before the global jargon, the circular economy jargon, Ghana already had a system, like we had something going on that looked like circular economy?
Did we have something that looked like a circular economy? Yes. Did we have a system? No.
Okay.
But I think that's just what Ghana is. Ghana rarely has like real working systems anyway. So did we have something that looked like it? Yes. The boys at Agubloshi and Malata, Galloway, doing the metal recycling, Kantamanto. So do we have something that looks like circularity? Yes. But again, it depends on how you look at circularity. So some would look, so predominantly, and I use, why am I forgetting this book? Cradle to Cradle.
Okay.
So is it two forms we're looking at circularity? Either it's going into the ground and, or it's within the system. I think for us, I don't see either. So in Kantamanto, if worn out denim or whatever comes in, they would recycle, they would repair it, and then they would sell it off. But if that material was built to last 6 months, and the Obroni did 2 months with it, no matter how you repair it, you've got 4 months with your baby. Same for the metal. So I think that there's a semblance of it. Absolutely. There's the spirit of it, where we don't throw things away. We are resourceful. We will try to keep it alive as much as possible. But I think that keeping things alive as much as possible really boils down to the molecular composition of the material you're dealing with. So whether it's textiles or plastics, we're talking about polymers, we're talking about chemical compositions, and that goes beyond the capacity of the African ingenuity.
Right. Before we continue, I just wanted to ask Nabeela, how would you define circularity or the circular economy to a layman?
I don't try to. Yeah. I don't try to. Because I think we're all trying to understand it. Sustainability, circular economy. It's hard to find that one definition for it. But again, if we're going by cradle to cradle principles, circularity really boils down to using resources, creating resources so that they, one, decay at the end of life, two, are able to rotate through use cycles, endless use cycles. But even that in itself is a bit problematic because there's also physics and there's entropy. And chaos makes the world go round. So I guess we're all figuring it out. For me, my incentive is for a continent like ours, I think that knowledge is an infinite resource. So we're often touted to be developing, to be poor, to be incapacitated. That's fine. But our ingenuity, my burning question is, if we merged our ingenuity with some physics, chemistry, capital, regulation, what would that look like for our future? So being able to use textiles to now generate yarns that we can weave using kente and fugu techniques into lighter, airy fabrics like this, so that, made in Ghana is not just your vibrant colors, but it's also a t-shirt, and it doesn't have to be made in Ghana. That the input came from here, and by so doing, the price of it was slashed by 50 to 70% than we're buying it now, and people are able to have dignity. I think that's just the simple things. So for me, I can imagine so many other people have their own circular economy definitions. But if I didn't define it well, it's because I'm still searching, and I hope my burning question, the thing that drives me, has been able to give your audience a perspective on what circularity is.
Okay. I think we would also like to talk about policy, like from this part of the African continent, not even to go beyond the country. We know that we have our regulatory bodies looking to implement frameworks and certain things that benefit, us as citizens, benefiting from the opportunities available in the carbon space, in the climate space. What is your perspective on how far we have come, as a country looking to create better systems, that are related to us?
That's a packed question. One, because I'm not sure we're actively trying to build better systems.
That's true.
Two, because I don't think perhaps we lack policies. I think we lack enforcement. But I'll still try to answer your question. And, politics is not apart from sustainability or the circular economy, so I'll take us down that route. And I'll zoom out from my echo chamber, which is the circular economy, and into the world that we exist in, even in Africa. I'll use Nigeria and their ban on the raw export of shea as an example. Nigeria was doing, I think, 3,000 tons. I might butcher the numbers, forgive me, but the spirit is 3,000 tons of unrefined shea every year. And then some businessman in northern Nigeria built the industry, the infrastructure to refine that. And I guess I wasn't there, but put 2 and 2 together, you get 4. I guess they lobbied in government, in parliament, and then the president said, okay, guys, no one is taking away. And the infrastructure has a capacity to do, I think, 30,000 or 90,000 tons of shea. And so when there's the incentive, governments need money to do things. So once there's the incentive, and governments have so many problems. When we're on the outside, I can imagine that we look at, wow, you're not doing this and you're not doing that.
Every time.
Exactly. But even if you want a small organization, you know how cumbersome it is to get things done, especially when you're in the mud. So when they have competing priorities, they're serving huge numbers of people they will focus on what is doable. So often this is what has proven itself over time. This is what they have data on. This is what seems like there's some security at. This is what looks like if they put money, they can off the bat gauge the social and financial ROI. Coming back to your question, I think that the government has not done well, but I think as a collective, the blame should be on the collective. The lack of policy, yes, but also the lack of evidence that drives policy, the lack of data, language that drives policy. So when there hasn't been as much work that has been done to prove and disprove theories, what kind of policy is government passing? Your policy, government should have an informed policy. Again, government is made of technocrats. They sit there and they do their, often people say they're sitting there, what should they do? Like, all of us have got a role to play. Like, it's why I don't believe in the whole individual response. Like, what, you want a doctor to all of a sudden become a cleaner? No, of course they should take individual responsibility, but often there's this onus on people to become another thing. No, but we're all playing our roles in society. Just coming back to say that they're sitting there, yes, they're sitting there and they're supposed to like technically look at the data and all of these things, but they need to get the data from those doing the work on the ground. And I think that there hasn't been that. And so the language, the evidence and such has not been there enough to drive policy. But when you look at the circular economy, the bulk of it really centers on recovery. There's also the need for policy to be able to drive some of the work. In Ghana, we don't have waste being a state priority. So it's individuals that are carrying this job. So that's like 15,000 Abubuya riders that you cannot track. You don't know where they're dropping the rubbish. Of course, when you have 15,000 people decentralized doing whatever it is they're doing, without a whip to put them in, you can't possibly get any data from there, So structure must come from somewhere. Maybe I don't have the technical words to describe where that place is. I don't know if that's policy. I don't know if that's like institutional convening. I don't know what it is. But government has not done what it's supposed to do. But I also think that the work on the ground has not convened plausible evidence or data and such for the work to keep going.
As we kept talking, I could see the analogy of, when we describe the government as a bigger ship, and then those playing in the private sector as the smaller boats or the ships. It takes a longer time for a big ship to be able to turn. So it makes sense that the government is not able to do certain things at certain times because they have to prioritize a decision such that when they turn, it doesn't cause huge havoc for the society. And it makes me wonder so for the private sector, for example, if we were going to collaborate with the government to create that sync in building our infrastructure, in making actions that contribute to the policy decisions that can be eventually made, how does that happen? Because I think a typical example would be how Elon Musk was partnering with Trump at a time, but then due to, of course, personal issues now, it doesn't exist anymore. And Tesla, at some point, felt the consequences of that. But then back to the question again on government and then the private sector in the circular economy. How can the private sector position itself, to facilitate some of these policy decisions?
It's tough, especially when we use the Trump-Elon analogy.
I like that.
Because Elon is worth billions of dollars. Elon is worth GDPs of nations. So when he talks to even the president of he'll listen. And that president is also commercial driven. Elon is, so they have a shared goal.
Yeah.
So that's tough because the weight Elon has, the recovery economy in Ghana cannot begin. I mean, I think the recovery economy's weight does not even match GPRTU or the Traders Association of Ghana. And I think perhaps that is where they must begin to start from. They must begin to start from the place of pooling weight. You see, this goes back to a challenge. Transport is a clear need. When the trotro drivers sort of went out of action in December, everybody was feeling it. You hate a trotro, but damn you that a trotro doesn't work. Everybody would be miserable. So power is clear. Now, when they come and they tell the government something, government's going to listen. Same for Traders Association. They pull, they know the power they pull is evident. And then as units, they're pooling cash. They're pooling cash. They don't need government to pull that cash. So there's that power. What we need to begin to do is pull that bargaining power. But you see, the odds are against us in the sense that this is still a discovery space. The space is really discovering itself. So whilst I say we must pull bargaining power, I know that it is almost impossible, and use me and my weary face as the poster child of pulling that weight without any real accommodation for us. So you see with things like AI and the things that the world is excited about, they're like accommodation and incentives and stuff that I don't think exists for the circular economy. And I think the story is not as convincing because I think with the AI story, I mean, at this point, we think AI is going to change the world. And in 10 years from today, the world will be a utopia.
The perfect.
Yeah. Nobody thinks that of the circular economy. So the story is not convincing, it's not exciting, it's not compelling, and then the data is not there. And they're asking you, bring the data, and you're like, but where's the money? Where's the accommodation for me to go and work and bring the data? So I don't know. It's a yin-yang thing. So one, pulling the bargaining power. But that's an uphill battle. And there must be some commitments from institutions, public institutions, government, state-owned enterprises. For the work that we do, there must be that enabling environment that allows us to thrive in the work that we do, that allows us to one, be strong. And I hope this is not coming up as feed us, you know, give us grant. That's not what I'm talking about. You know, and I hope I've been able to. But I think that for us to do that, we need to pull together, strengthen as a unit, strengthen as and then, because I mean, while I say what I say, waste is painful. Nobody wants to sit in waste, you know. Yet somehow the buzz that agribusiness is getting recently, and I'm very excited about it, the buzz that the trotro drivers get, the waste and the recovery economy, unfortunately, is not able to pull that buzz and that power. I'm still exploring. I don't have all the answers, but I hope this has been able to answer yours.
I think concerning the last thing you just said, right? You know, EPA, the Environmental Protection Authority, they released something on the styrofoam ban from January 2027. I feel like that's some kind of
like an increment, like a step.
Yes, a step is a step, and I think I want to just pick your mind on. Now they are saying they are going to ban it from January 2027. They are saying foam packs used by restaurants, chop bars, vendors, like they should stop. And I think that's like one of the cheapest packaging that they have. What's like government doing to ensure that they use something which is more sustainable? Like if you are saying we should stop using this, what should we use? What are you putting in place for us to use? And us as individuals or people already in the circular economy, how are we going to help this policy come to life? What are your thoughts around this?
So first of all, I'm not in government, and I don't know what they're doing to. I don't know what they're doing to ensure that we're using something more sustainable.
Yeah, but like on the practical level, those that are already in the system, what do you think for the common wachi seller or Indomie seller? I think they are the ones that use the styrofoam a lot.
Yeah.
How would they take this news, and how would they?
Top of my head, I think they could easily go back to the banana leaves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Easily.
Indomie and banana leaves. That would be
Yeah, you
something.
get used to it.
Yeah.
Have a banku in there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think people are going to have to inconvenience themselves a little.
Wow. Yeah.
Frankly, I don't think that there's anything that would be as cheap as the styrofoam. There's nothing that will behave like the styrofoam.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So the styrofoam is a number of things. It's convenience, it's hygiene, it's cost effectiveness in one. I don't think we'll get that. And that's fine if we're willing to. Something has got to give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess this is what we'll give. It's, I would say, innovation. I've seen a couple of innovative stuff. But because of the cost, I can't begin to see those things scale. Especially not by January 2027.
Yeah.
So,
It's expensive.
and then there's the bit where in a country where you don't really R&D. I'm big on R&D and living labs. Because I think it's the only way you would know.
Yeah.
By doing, testing,
testing,
iterating.
Yeah.
So, again, I can't bank on innovation. But I can bank on us going back to the things that we're used to. A little inconvenience, carrying your bowl,
Yeah.
using somebody's bowl after if you didn't carry yours.
Yeah, that was what we're using before.
Yeah, a little bit more of washing
Yeah.
that you wouldn't like. You're gonna wash now, and some banana leaves. I also suspect the graphic will come back. The graphic will come back because something has got to wrap.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a tie. I don't know. One should. But yeah, these are my thoughts.
Oh, something just came to mind. I think when it comes, I'll just bring it up. All right. No, it's back.
Okay, go ahead.
They've put this policy in place, okay, but so what if, okay, the policy is effective and I still go back to use styrofoam? Because after reading, I've not read it thoroughly, but I don't think there's any, like, if you use it, you'll not be penalized. Like, what do you think they can do so that, should it be taxes? Should it be, like, what do you think they can do so that they don't breach that, policy that
The government or the consumer?
the government, the policymaker, yeah.
They need to be committed to the implementation. And that comes down to a number of things. But I think there will be a black market for styrofoam post 2027. Yeah, and human ingenuity there would be. Also, I think that we often talk about like the transition like a silver bullet. I don't know why. And then somebody will say, Rwanda did it. Kenya did it. I'm like, have you gone into Rwanda and Kenya? It's taking them decades. And it's not like plastics are gone wholesale.
Yeah.
So, so I definitely think there will be a black market for it. And then I also think that if the government or whoever, maybe an entrepreneur is interested, is about innovating around something that replicates the characteristics of styrofoam. So the thing about plastics that everybody's always going on and on about is, like, oh, it's the devil, it's the worst thing. And I'm like, guys, don't be ungrateful. It got us here for a reason. And those reasons are not trivial. Hygiene is no trivial issue. And when you have a fast-paced economy, as I would imagine urban Accra is, convenience becomes like an inbuilt feature. Like it's a feature. It stops being a bug because how are people going to, couple fast-paced lifestyles, high productive lifestyles with inconvenience, which is spending extra time. Banana leaf is okay, by the way. It's okay. It's what you carry it in. You hold it in your hand. That's the thing. So, it's just, I think that the government is here is innovation that can scale, not them. They can back somebody, R&D. Styrofoam is made up of polymers. Can we build something that mimics the characteristics of styrofoam, but with different polymer that behaves differently? These are the type of things that we should confront. Ultimately, if we don't want to go to the sluggish things, the slow way, slow living, then I think the next step is innovation that's cost effective. Basically mimics the styrofoam and why we like it.
Okay.
That was a great
So,
answer.
as you were talking, I was wondering if secular tech works exactly as we intended, let's say in the next 10 years. What do you think needs to change now?
For circular tech or the economy or the country, or what would have to change for circular tech?
Like in terms of the people, what would they have to change currently to meet up with the next 10 years secular tech?
To adapting.
I'm confused because circular tech is my baby. It's GoTo's baby. And we built circular tech to be a coordination and intelligence layer for the work that we are doing. And it was inspired by Makola.
Okay.
So when we went to Makola, GoTo is it's not a big organization. So we had like a small team of people walking up and down in this market in the sun. Now I think about, the bit where it's a very cumbersome place. So sometimes you can go. We had 20 traders on our radar. We primarily dealt with 20 traders. Sometimes you can go. One of my best people, Drake has a cold store in Makola. Shout outs to Drake.
Shout out to Drake.
So Drake, you would go, you want to talk to Drake, wants to talk to you too. But he sells, it's a cold store. And he's like, and there are people, he's like, I'm coming. Give me a minute, I'm coming. So we came out of there thinking, first of all, this work could have been better if there was existing data for us to build on. There's not that. Secondly, is this how we're going to build this data? Surely there's got to be something better. And that's how circular tech came about. So when we released the demo in January 2026 of this year, it was supposed to be a real-time data visibility tool. We naively thought giving this to people like Drake and waste pickers and Kantamanto sellers would do the trick. Like they would just put in their activity. That was so naive and extractive. Why is somebody going to be updating your tool with their data? Why? Just because you want to build a circular economy. And so we're iterating on what circular tech is. And primarily we're iterating it to simply give these people a service and visibility into benchmark prices. This is for the plastic waste collectors. And this is, I don't want to go into the plastic waste economy and its issues, but that space is another. And so we thought, there's no way we're getting this data if this space is on the brink of death. So we've got to give these people something that allows them to stay alive and continue to gain a living. And that's price visibility. This protects them against price monopolies, protects them against the fluctuating prices where 1 kilo of recovered plastics could be 2 cedis today and tomorrow is 3 cedis 50 pesos. No real economy is built like that. No real economy. And certainly not the plastic recovery economy. So that's what circular tech is. Now, I won't go into what circular tech is too much, but when you ask me what would have to change about people, quite frankly, nothing. Well, I've done GoTo 3 years, and I've been in the sustainability space 7 years. The lesson I learned is that your solution will not work if you bank on people changing for it to work. It won't work. So I don't expect the people, the consumer, to change, but we are iterating circular tech as we learn on the job to meet the people's needs, so that we can gain real-time visibility into the plastic textile waste recovery scene. What we hope to do in 10 years, if we've achieved that, is to be able to use that data to work hand in hand with infrastructure builders, capital allocators, and policymakers to make the recovery economy a real investment thesis. At the moment, again, when we also started, we fell into that trap of wanting to save the informal worker. So, we want to save you so that we'll give you, once over time when you use the app, we're going to put some, credit scoring systems in there. You can get your credit, you can get your, I'm thinking, this is not real. Because beyond that, there's real issues like storage issues. There's real issues. There's real infrastructure issues. And so the best bet is to begin to build that pooling power, the gravity within the waste recovery economy that allows us to speak to capital allocators, speak to policymakers, and speak to scale the way other viable spaces do. Will it happen? We're still on the job. We're learning on the job. Yeah, we have faith in it, but again, learning in Ghana is things are always changing. Maybe things get better before that 10-year marker. That's fine. But otherwise, in 10 years' time, once we have with circular tech working, Ghana's waste recovery scene should be able to get better capital allocation, real policy, and should be able to structure and scale. We don't intend to formalize. Look at me. We don't intend to formalize the waste economy. Are you Bill Gates? But I just meant to say that the philosophy behind it is not to formalize the informal folks, but is to make what is currently working scale, gain, build better, have better infrastructure, capital, and policy.
I think the word that comes to mind would be coordination in the market.
Absolutely, and that's primarily what circular tech is. Primarily, it's a coordination tool, coordination in the market around activity, pricing, availability. This is with Cantamanto and such.
Okay, Nabeela, we have one last question for you. So, what is that one thing that you would want to see people do on a daily basis? It's not just a mindset, it's not just a thinking thing, but then
actionable things.
An incremental change. What's that one thing?
What's that one thing?
That you would want people to do differently when it comes to taking charge of the responsibilities that we have, and actually not just being conscious of the circular economy, that we've been wasting materials, but then today I think that we should make good use of our materials, but then I'm actually doing something. Is that one thing?
I don't think I want. Well, what do I want people
nothing.
to do?
There is something in that nothing.
Yeah, the way the answer was coming. Okay, so let's take it this way. For instance, a corporate person going to work on a Monday morning. What will you say the person should do, like in terms of their daily activities? One thing they can do as an action to help the circular economy.
I wouldn't want to speak to the consumer.
Okay.
I would want to speak to the folk in the circular economy.
Okay.
And sustainability space. I believe in scale. So that's why I don't want to talk to the average person. But I think that for the folk working in the circular economy and sustainability space, I think that the one thing I would want them to do is think of the work we do as something that will compound and change the world. Okay. So I want us to think beyond, whilst they are helpful, the workshops, the talk shops, the conferences,
the grants,
the idea that we are heroes. I hear that a lot, change makers.
Yes.
I would want us to go beyond that facade. Is nice, but it's a facade. A doctor that went to work this week and saved 13 people from dying or from aggravating illnesses is a hero. A nurse that goes to work today and cleans 5 ulcer wounds, takes the temperature of kids and stuff, is a hero. The people that make sure that we're not sitting in heaps and heaps and heaps of rubbish and sewage are heroes, because if you were to put measurement to it, you can quantify it. And my invitation is for each one of us, when we work every day, to think about the work we do in such quantifiable terms. Now, that's controversial, because some of the work we do, again, the value cannot be quantified. But I still want us to think in those terms. I still want us to think in measurable terms. And the bulk of the workers in our space are NGOs and non-profits. So I want them to think in terms of business. Like in business, at the end of the month, the last zero must balance. The balance sheet must balance. We need to have metrics, and we need to be able to make sure that at the end of the month we're meeting those metrics, and we need to be able to see how they tie to the communities that we say we work for. So I want us to pull back from what we know, because I've noticed, especially in the last 3 years, the climate, the funding climate and all of that has been iffy. So I want us, and because of that, I've seen a lot of our solutions and interventions and such struggling. It's like we're in a state of hallucination. And I stand in solidarity with all of us. But we've taken this job on ourselves, and we have to see this through to the finish. And the work we do has real tangible gains. Whilst we struggle to evaluate, to communicate that articulately, there's still that room for us to do that. And I want us to go to work thinking like that and getting the work done. But again, this is with the invitation of policymakers, capital allocators, and the likes. Look at us also, accommodate us, hold our hands, if we're not up to it. So that's it.
I really share the same perspective with you. A typical example would be for my startup as well. I was contemplating between whether it should be solely like a social impact thing, but then what's the tangibility? Where do you measure?
Exactly.
What does it mean to our Africans, to our people here, in terms of what we are doing? And it led me to eventually understanding the economics of everything. And it's really, I've been able to even tie the social part to
the economics. My controversial view is that it is businesses that will change the world. And that's because there's and I say this from the limitations and the mistakes we made when we started Go To, where we would start something brilliant and the money would finish, and it's like you're not doing the thing anymore. No. Or you're chasing grants and you're spending your intelligence and all of these chasing grants. You get one.
Metrics.
You can't
It's
even focus on the
so
idea.
for continuity's sake and such, I think that businesses will save the world. Impact businesses will save the world. And I agree with you. Just keep learning and don't be scared to learn. I think that space also, there's always that to show up like, I'm the boss. I've been to 10 conferences. I've spoken on these. No, but like you're in Africa, like where even matured industries are still carving and trying to charter their path forward. How much more us? So thank you for having me.
Thank you too, Nabeela.
Thank you.
We enjoyed the conversation.
I'm such, right now, I'm just in the world of like I've been
mapping out.
We need money, so if you know where the money is at.
Audience, you are hearing us.
Thank you so much for such an insightful conversation.
My pleasure. Thank you for having
the
me.
audience have taken so much, and I'm sure they are still looking at you like just as I was looking at you.
Come and give us money. We are ready to work.
Okay, so thank you guys so much. Thank you, Nabeela, once again for your time with us. To listen to our sessions, you find us on YouTube at Road to Green, on LinkedIn, Road to Green, and YouTube. I mentioned YouTube already. So LinkedIn, YouTube, Road to Green, and TikTok as well.
Instagram.
And Instagram, Road to Green. Yes. So, would you guys like to touch on anything before? Okay.
Not really.
All right,
Just
then.
keep. Everyone has a role to play. So
Yeah.
Concentrate on what you are supposed to do and do
Yes.
it well.
yes,
And do it well. Yes.
yeah.
All right, guys. See you on our next episode.
Okay.